Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt. I've been a professional artist for 62 years. I've done a lot of artwork in that time, and I'm still just trying to get it right.
Hello, Mr. Hildebrandt.
Keith, here we are again.
We're back.
Finally. What, after a month or so?
Yeah.
We were trying to get it right all that while. And
Practicing, yeah. No, we took some time off. Had some different things going on, different big projects that took up a lot of time. And,
it just ended up that way, you know.
That's how things go. But, yeah, we've got some people already jumping back in.
Hi, people.
You know, we didn't know if anybody would show up. So, thanks. We appreciate it.
We don't want to be a stranger in a strange land, exactly. I mean, or do we?
No.
Not really, no.
No, because it's our own land.
That's true.
Well, it's your land. I don't know for the right.
But you feel like a stranger, and a lot of times I do anyway. You know, it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly when I'm around people.
Yeah, exactly. That causes the problems. Actually, when we're on the easel or on the drawing board, then, you know, now you're in your own land.
Yeah.
And exploring and having fun there.
I probably feel like a stranger there, too. Lost in the white space.
Yeah.
So hey, if anybody wants to chime in and say hello, we really want to hear from people today. Let us know if we can hear you or you can hear us. I can't hear you no matter what. But
this little Band-Aid is from a finger cut that I got packing some cardboard to get out for recycle. Slicing myself on a piece of cardboard. Yeah.
Mortally wounded.
Yes. Fortunately, it was not on, the drawing and painting fingers.
Yeah.
But anyway, this behind me is a painting that I'm working on presently, is a centerfold for an upcoming next year to 2023.
23.
Lord of the Rings calendar that we're doing with Heavy Metal magazine. And this will be a centerfold painting for that calendar, which combines Tarn of the Warrior from Heavy Metal, their iconic figure from their 81 film and onward, and a creation of my own as though from the medieval dark world, and so they're about to do battle, and so I've been having fun with this.
Cool. Thanks for letting us know. So again, oh man, I'm tearing up the joint.
Yeah. Was it a T-square?
T-square and a horse.
T-square and a model horse. I use all these. Here, let me see. Like I use these figures. There's a whole bunch of them over here. Grab that T-Rex. I'll take these things. They're very useful for combining it. I'll light them and use various parts, legs and texture to get the lighting on the anatomy on when I'm doing a creature. Or sometimes I have in the past made an entire creature out of clay, sculpted it. But here, these things work very well,
Yeah. 3-dimensional, right?
Right. Yeah.
Great. So again, anybody has any questions, comments, constructive criticisms, you name it, please, by all means, shoot us a line, let us know. We'll try to answer anything we possibly can. So, Greg, today's topic, we were discussing, hey, what do we want to talk about in the Comeback Show? In the past, we had talked about, art as propaganda and these different fields. And, we're thinking of the holiday spirit, and I used Santa Claus in the graphic we put out. But, we didn't want to go, the religious route of the holiday. But one thing, that we kind of landed on was the fact that now I can only speak for North America. I can't speak for the rest of the world. Sorry, I'm just not that well versed. But that the Christmas time, right? All of the arts come together, right, across the board in like every medium, and really unite everybody in one kind of mood. Now, again, we're not talking about the religious aspects of things. You know, we're
That does, you know, plus all stuff like the Gene Shepherd's A Christmas Story.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Name something. It's like it's a uniting piece of artwork. People get off all their crap, hopefully, and I think a lot of it, well, it does work, and come together and can be what, entertained, inspired.
Yes, and I mean, it's the one time that you truly see all of the arts with the same goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the Nutcracker Ballet that's performed everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? It's performed everywhere. On the radio and everywhere it is specifically, you know, Christmas tunes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right? The visual art world, you see, you know, from advertisements or whatever, that classic illustration from the Coca-Cola Santa. You know,
Yeah. Sunblom, Haddon Sunblom.
thank you very
Great
much.
illustrator. Fantastic illustrator.
But it's everywhere, and then, you know, film, animation,
Rock and roll, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
all of it is united and really kind of helps sell, you know, this spirit of togetherness, of oneness, of the holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people even get into it on a very individual level, you know, with decorating their homes.
That's right.
And
becomes a expression of personal expression, creative expression.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, many people.
And the overall or overwhelming feeling or spirit of it, like I said, you know, is a oneness, is of a giving
Right.
spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, we see it a little bit with Halloween, you know, but
Right.
but Halloween doesn't have the same
No.
impact. But you know, as we were talking about this, we started talking about some other areas. Like you brought up comic conventions.
Well, I think this whole genre. I mean, the first time I was aware of that was Gene had set up a show. We just started working together. Was it 1980? I think, at one of the big malls here in New Jersey, of an art show, and it came at wintertime and at near Christmas time, and it was a huge show. She said it. She organized the whole thing, and there was we went and helped set it all up, and then a blizzard started. And it was this huge blizzard. I mean, we figured, well, the show's dead. This is it. Nobody's coming. Gradually, the place started to fill up. More and more people came. They were pulled through this. And the thing that got me, I'm standing back there watching this all these different people from all these different walks of life with one of the guards. And he's like standing there shaking his head, saying, I've never seen this. And I said, what? He said, all these different kinds of people coming together for one thing. You know, you motorcycle people from the inner city, you know, racially, religious wise, middle class, upper middle class, kids, adults, old people, all coming together to, you know, well, dig this kind of art form. And it's like it hit me that's the first time I really saw it graphically on how this stuff really pulls all kinds of people together. And you go to Comic Cons, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, politically, I mean, on the outside of that sphere, everybody's got their own individual thing, and they could be at odds with one another these days,
Yep.
especially more than ever, seemingly. And yet, when they're under this, inside this bubble, all that stuff stops, and there's this kind of like unifying thing that happens. And for that, and for Christmas at this time, for the arts, and that's the objective. I think the objective is with art is to do that, to inspire, to pull people together, to have them, you know, go to another level, you know, hopefully a higher level. You know?
But unfortunately, it doesn't do that a whole lot.
Well, you know, I think a lot of it is what is that the intent of the artist, or is it just not working these days, or maybe it's, you know, it has worked on and off for certain people at certain times in history.
Yeah, and you see it, you know, work to degrees. But like if you know, like think about going to a museum. You know, people go into it in a museum, but they typically admire on their own. It's even though you're there with other people,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
it's not a shared
No,
experience.
not at all. And it's dead silent too. It's almost
Yeah.
like they've gone into a church, and you can't talk. And if you say stuff, I remember I go to museums, you know, to the Met or whatever, and start raving about something, and people look at you like, shh, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. It isn't necessarily a unifying event. The trip to the museum.
And
It's very much an individual thing.
yeah, I mean, like when you go to a rock concert or something like that,
Oh yeah.
everybody leaves everything behind, and they're joining that. But it's a brief moment. It's a one night
Right.
shot, you know, in different cities and whatnot. But we, you know, with the Comic Cons and with Christmas, we see that it can be held over an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, you think like Christmas. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of it is commercially driven,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the spirit of it isn't commercially driven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the act of buying a gift from someone. Yeah, someone's trying to sell you something. I mean, we try to sell people things.
Sure.
It's just it's the nature of commerce and business and all that. It's inherently not a bad thing. But people going out buying a gift for someone, you know, because they want to give it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the
Well, the whole idea is
heart of
that,
everything.
yeah, the spirit of giving. I mean, isn't that what it's supposed to be all about, as opposed to just receiving?
Yeah, but it really is the art that creates that atmosphere. And again, I want to jump over to the Comic Con, right? Again, you know, San Diego's over 4 or 5 days now. New York's over 4 or 5 days, and everyone, you know, comes in. And again, you know, from cons 20 years ago or whatnot, 30 years ago, little rinky-dink things.
Mm-hmm. The bottom of a church.
Yeah. New York, you go to the bottom of the church, or some other hotel lobby,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and go around and you know you meet. But they've become these events, and it's no longer just about these major companies that are going there and showing off their art and showing off their artists and things like that. The attendees have kind of taken ownership, and all of them dress up now. Everybody dresses up,
Mm-hmm.
and they're dressing as their favorite characters, but they've created this camaraderie and this bond that happens within the context of the show.
Yep.
You know, like
Right. And on the outside, they go out and there's the stranger in the strange land.
Yeah.
They're looked at as the freaks. People put them down. A lot of these people who get into that kind of into that world call them weirdos and God knows what, you know. And
it's becoming much more accepted nowadays, right? Just because I mean, I think maybe with those Marvel movies, they've gone so far into the pop culture zeitgeist of like everyday life. The people are starting to accept it, where it wasn't like, oh man, look at that weirdo dressed up.
Yeah.
So let's throw this out to the people. We got a few people commenting and talking. You know, yes, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you as well, Elijah. Star Wars Timeline, I believe that is the person you just did the interview with. How are you doing? Great to see you. Thank you for joining in. Hello from Scotland. The painting's beautiful.
Thanks a lot. It should be done in about another 5 or 6 days, I think. I hope to finish it by tomorrow, but I can see that I'm not. You know.
So I have a question from for the person from Scotland, I made the comment earlier that I can only comment uh, for the United States, and Canada gets in on it. I'm not too sure about Mexico, even though I made the mistake and said North America. Around this holiday time, is it? Do you find the arts in Scotland are unifying everything, or is it just not a big deal? There, I have no idea. So if you want to pipe in and let me know your thoughts and opinions on that, I would truly appreciate it. And
As an artist, you always hope to make some kind of a dent like that. That you want to do more good than bad with your artwork. You want to
yeah,
create more what? Less animosity. You do want to inspire people. You do want to turn people on. You do want them to be happy, feel good over what you do, and have them all come together and get off their respective crap. In terms of the hate that goes on. I mean, so much right now that's going on all around the place. And as an artist though, you always question that yourself. What the hell is this valuable? Is it doing anything? And when people let you know that it is, man, that's a great feeling. Just as you know what I mean, as a
yeah,
creator, right?
yeah.
That you're having an impact, and when you go down and think, well, what's the use of this? There's no value to it. What big deal? Yeah, I'm making a living and I'm enjoying it, but what real good is in the world? The film that Jan and I just looked at, The Electrical Life of Lewis Wayne. Holy mackerel! There's a couple of with Benedict Cumberbatch. There's a couple of. It's about an artist who is I never heard of until I saw the film. I think I've seen some of his paintings in the past, but it's such a positive film about art and the impact and the possibility that art has on the world of what it can do. I mean, I'd recommend it to everybody to see this film, just to get. There's a couple of talks and there's pieces of dialogue that really deliver that. That whole idea of the impact of art.
And where can we see it?
Well, it's on, where the heck is it? I think it's on Amazon. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just with, like I said, Cumberbatch, and he's incredible in the film. Well, everybody is in the film, but it's a beautifully made movie. It's just fantastic.
And what is the name? One more time.
The Electrical Life of Lewis Wayne, Wain.
So, the one thing, just kind of going down this bunny trail as I'm formulating thoughts on this idea. Art typically, or, from the visual arts or whatever, is usually a reflection of oneself or a statement about something, or you're doing a commercial job and they're trying to sell something or do something. So do you think that in order for something to then be widespread, long-lasting, almost universal, does it have to be multiple artists joining in with the relatively same vision and purpose? Or could we see some kind of rise up and unification through the arts while everybody is still doing their own?
It's a good question. I don't know. Can't answer. What do you feel about it? What do you think?
I don't know. This is just kind of coming to me as I'm.
Yeah,
we don't come into these things with a whole lot.
No, we just start talking.
We just start talking, and it goes where we go. And because I just enjoy having conversations with you. I don't want to have rehearsed.
Yeah, I know.
But we do see the greatest impact when all of the arts are working on a very similar.
When you say all of the
vision.
arts working on a similar vision, what do you exactly?
Again, where, just that this idea of Christmas, not the birth of Jesus, even though Christmas is a celebrated day of the religious holiday, right?
That's fine. No, I'm not
it's grown beyond that here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a majority of the people that are celebrating Christmas in this country at this particular moment in time aren't really celebrating the birth of Jesus. Now they might be doing it through tradition.
All right, so, yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
yeah. Well, okay, and that's kind of a shame because that gets lost about. And well, in this world too, I think a lot of people have abandoned, though they claim to be Christians. They have nothing to do with the words and the directives of Jesus Christ. I mean,
Yeah.
when you go to we've talked about this before, I think. When we go to the so-called Sermon on the Mount, where the Beatitudes are given, and you look at all that, how many people are practicing that today? You know, it's a shame. You know, if you're really going to celebrate the birth of Christ, you really got to get into it and be real about it and,
Yes.
and look at it, not invent it for yourself of what it means.
Yeah.
Not to say, you know, thou shalt not kill, but I can go out and kill this person because of this and this and this,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Either those ideas and admonitions and beliefs and teachings are there and you're going to follow them, or you ain't. You know?
Yeah.
It's so I don't know, but
Yeah,
what
no.
I'm saying is it's a
Yeah.
shame that that gets lost, is kind of smeared over and forgotten or transformed or lied about and reinvented to make it fit your prejudices,
Yes, or your personal biases.
your
Yeah.
personal biases.
Now, to make things clear or clarify here, when you say it's a shame that it has gotten lost,
Well, it's probably been lost from the beginning. I'm not saying that it's just going on right now. The centuries will. All you got to do is get some truthful, honest history books, and it'll tell you of how it's been lost. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, you know.
yes, but
So when we're still here,
you're not suggesting that people need to turn back to the worship of a deity.
no, not at
Incarnate.
all. No.
What you're saying is the lessons that
The lessons that are there,
Christ
the
figure
golden
taught,
rule,
yeah.
the golden rule which has existed before Christ, right? Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. In that magnificent painting that Norman Rockwell did,
Yes.
that makes that statement. You know,
Yep.
there it is, right there. All right, that may seem self-serving. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know,
Yeah.
but then Christ, what did Christ go and say? You know, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
All those teachings, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm not saying to return to a religion. No, I'm not saying that.
But returning to the context of what the guy said.
Yeah. The message,
The actual
the
message.
thought.
Yes. So to then my point, most of what we're doing is somehow related to either Santa Claus,
Santa Claus,
gift giving,
yeah,
family.
right, and that's all cool.
It's
It's fun.
the
It's fantasy.
Yeah.
It appeals to my imagination. I love
Yeah.
it on that level. You know, it's a fairy tale. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Myth, magic.
Yeah,
But I think that's the stuff that everybody kind of can get on board with, recognizing that okay, Santa Claus is not. Kids watching Santa Claus is not real. There's a spirit of Santa Claus, right?
Right.
I like to embody the spirit of Santa Claus, right? The
Sure.
I think that's what people get into and buy into and really grab a hold of.
Yeah.
You know, and so saying that all of the arts working in that common vision, they're all selling the same similar imagery,
Mm-hmm.
very similar messages, ideals that center around this time frame.
Right.
You know, even Trans-Siberian Orchestra, you know, it's the Christmas Eve, you know, the day before the magic hour, you know.
Yeah, right. Well, that's much more gear. There's no Santa Claus in the TSO.
Yeah, no.
Nothing, none of that. It's all it is the birth of Christ, and but it's not in that. It's not in this. What can I say? What's the word to use? Not to offend too many people. Sappy, saccharine. There's none of that crap.
No.
It's a hardcore message. It's basically, you know, against all those things that we're talking about, anti-war. I mean, the original song that they did, you know, Christmas Eve Sarajevo, which was inspired by the cello player that went out to the war in Sarajevo and played Christmas music in the midst of this battle, you know, and that turned them on. And it becomes this statement, you know, that's the core of the whole TSO is that, you know, is the to be this and act this in the midst of all this hideousness that's going on all around us, you know.
Yeah. So, again, when we start thinking about this, my initial thought was wondering, does even though the Christmas in this country specifically has drifted away from the very traditional religious
Mm-hmm.
aspect,
Mhm.
you know, does there need to be at some point some centralized religion that can do
I
it?
don't know. That gets into a whole other world of.
I was wondering that, but then we started thinking about
I don't want to see any more religions.
No, no,
There's
no,
enough
no, no,
religions in the world.
Religions. Can I have you for exactly 2 minutes? You leave this for 2 minutes. I need you to sign something for UPS.
I've got to go
Sorry,
sign something
guys.
for
Talk
UPS.
to Keith. Keith
Keith.
loves you.
Keith, talk to me.
Keith loves you.
Great. How we doing? I'll answer some questions. Do we have any? No. Other than this awesome painting. And then when Greg comes back, I'll go on with my thoughts about do we need the religion to be the central figure, and thinking, no, that's what the comic book convention teaches us, as long as there is a centralized vision. But anyway, does anyone have any questions for me? Is anyone still watching? Yes, a few people. Thank you. Hi, Tim. How you doing? Thank you for joining in. Thank you for commenting and watching as I sit here and wallow away the time or whatever. Just kind of make stuff up. How about this painting? Gene stole Greg. He's my counterpart. I'll move out of the way so everybody can see this. Anybody have any questions about this? Right? Loves all the drama in the background between the light and the dark sky. Absolutely. And I think Greg was pointing out earlier when we was talking that we have the good side over here that is represented in the light and the bright colors going against the darkness, and then symbolically we have the dark character over here, the evil figure represented up against the much lighter background to help that contrast and balance of the good and the evil. So that is some of the more subtle context of that painting.
Gene needed some signatures to get out for
UPS.
UPS.
And they are showing up at any time now. So
Right.
we are in the middle of a business day, so business has to go on.
Business is business. Business as usual. What the hell were we talking about before we went?
Well, I said,
I think
I said, do we need at somewhere? Does there need to be some kind of grain of religion? And you were like, oh, we don't need any more religions.
Well, we don't. I mean, religion is invented by men, and basically, they well, look, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, as they say
Yeah.
in England. What has it wrought in our world? What has religion wrought? I mean, it brought a lot of good for sure, but look at the combative nature of it these days, even in our country. To say nothing of a global, conflict, and how people use other people's religions to beat them down,
Yeah.
to make monsters and villains out of them, and create tension and conflict and war and murder and mass murder in the name of their respective gods. I mean, this is beyond it. I mean, here we are. How long has the human race been here? We can't get beyond this. We can't get beyond this. We can't improve our lot. We've made all this technological leaps, so we can't do it ethically, morally. We're as deplete as we ever been, in a sense. I mean, we are.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, it's like, so I don't know about religion, but a belief. I mean, if you take the Ten Commandments, yes, they've been written down years ago. If you take Christ, the birth of Christ, we're talking about here, the teachings, if the people were truly to follow that, there would be a transformation in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no two ways about it. But I mean, it's like what they make of it now is they use it to kill each other.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of of ownership of the words. There doesn't seem to be a lot of ownership
It's all
of the words.
hypocrisy. It's all word service. It's all don't give me words. What are your actions like?
Yeah.
What do you do? How are you in the world? What kind of a person are you? What kind of a human being are you? How kind are you? How generous are you? these are the questions.
Yeah, and of course, there are people out there
Yeah, there are.
that 100% embody.
Oh, they are.
Like I think I've actually mentioned this guy to you, Peter, a guy I used to work with.
Yeah.
Pure embodiment of the spirit. Guy's a phenomenal human being,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
His actions back up his words, right? So they're out there, but we're just not seeing it from the leaders,
No, we're not.
and that what then we
Well-
see from the leaders then trickles down to the followers.
Yeah, it's not only that we don't see it in the leaders, we see it, and I believe me, I'm the last one in the world to criticize the media. Believe me, I'm a part of it, and I believe in a free press more, just like, that's number one. But to constantly just put out bad news, there is good news in the world. People do good. This message should be put out also. I know bad
Yeah.
news attracts. It's like the accidents. We all
Yep.
rubberneck because of the crash on the side of the road. But
Everybody has to look at a tragedy.
yeah, but there's good stuff in the world. There's great people in the world. This stuff should be constantly looked at and reported also.
I totally agree.
At least equally,
Okay.
to the negative.
Okay, we got some other questions. You want to switch topics a little bit?
Let's switch them.
All right. Okay, so first I'm going to address Tom Hewitt about the commission list any shorter. Tom, email Jean, Jean, at spiderwebart.com. You see that down there on the left. She will be able to answer all of your questions regarding Greg's commission list. She knows it better than he knows it. Trust me.
I just follow orders. I'm a good soldier. I salute. Yes, ma'am.
Trust me.
She does a great job of organizing everything and making sure that everything operates and runs, as you can see right now, to make sure that the UPS gets out.
Yes. She handles
Everything. I mean, when I say everything, I mean everything.
everything. Okay, and then some person says, is there anything that you would consider magic during the creative process? However you would define it, feelings, inspiration, etc.
The whole thing is magic.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm still doing it at 83 is magic to me. The fact that I'm still doing it and people like it and I'm able to pull it off, to sit there in an event and fill up that wet piece of paper with a drawing and then to move to this point is the whole process is magical, if you want to look at it that way.
For me personally, I would say the observation of what a lot of other people have done, I would consider magic more than anything that I would do myself.
Well, we all feel that, of
Yeah.
course.
But
No, the very process, the fact that you're able to do it, the very
Yeah.
fact that we're walking around and talking right now and not even doing it, moving our hand. I think maybe we've all done it. I know as a little kid, I was really aware of it. Like I'd be laying in bed, all of a sudden I wake up and I look at my hand and move. So my God, I can move this. And there's no strings going anywhere. I'm not Pinocchio. It's like I'm self-animated.
yeah,
And I think thoughts and I can do all this stuff and the people around me can do all this stuff and we're all walking around. Look at this. I mean that kind of like intense realization.
yeah.
It's magic.
Well, the fact that you're a collection of atoms that has existed
Yeah.
since the dawn of
All
before the dawn of
organized.
time.
All organized to form all these textures and soft to hard to
to the point that you could actually then think about and consider yourself.
right. I think
You're a
that's where I
collection of
am.
atoms that have always existed that has stopped for a
Right.
moment in time to consider yourself.
And have all these emotions and thoughts and feelings.
Or you're
and
truly
beliefs.
you're a spongy organ encased in a skull and it walks around and meets.
That's magic.
That's magic. Yes,
It's
absolutely.
magic.
Well, even the fact, just more practical, the fact that you can smear plastic
Right. A piece of cloth.
on a piece of cloth and make it look like something that could exist in space, or that it looks like something that we could all actually recognize. I mean, that's creating an illusion, right?
Like you say, though, I look at the other artists that I admire and I
Yeah.
think they are really pulling it off. They're the magicians. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just a kind of like a sorcerer's apprentice. You know what I mean?
Yes, the con man.
Con man, yeah. Waiting to be found out. Well,
Yes.
you do, I think, right? So when you look at the history of art, you look at the great artists that are
Yeah.
either presently working or throughout time. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
Did Greg teach at the Kubert School?
Yes, I did.
What did you teach, and what advice did he find the most helpful to his young students?
What advice? What the hell? I mean, it's always the same thing. I think never give up, never quit. And if you think you've done it good enough, it's never good enough. It's never ever. You never achieve that which you think that you hope to achieve, or don't ever be satisfied. I mean, it's like you have to keep constantly going over one mountain. You think you've gone as far as you can go. You have to go further and further and further and further. And just don't quit. And don't listen to people tell you when it's wrong. Don't that feeling that you may have, which I still have it all the time. I think all of us do. That it's nothing. What is this? This is a piece of crap. Don't quit. The issue is don't quit. Never stop. It's the Thomas Hart Benton quote. I like it. That if you quit is when you fail. There's no such thing. The Benton said, "There's no such thing as failure in the pursuit of art. Merely to survive in that pursuit is a success. The only time an artist can personally fail is if he or she quits working." So that's what I give students. I mean, don't think, and don't ever compare yourself with anybody. Never look at so and so over there, how good they are, and my stuff is crap. That's all part of this same kind of conversation. Don't compare yourself. Be inspired by what other people do.
So
Don't beat yourself into
I
the
have a
ground with
question.
it.
So you say to never be satisfied. So if I'm working on a piece of art and I embody that never being satisfied, how do I know when to say when and when to move on?
Well, fortunately, I have a gene that tells me when the painting is done. So she can say, "That's stop it. It's over with," or you gotta tickle over here. This over here isn't fixed. This eye isn't right. So, but no, I'm saying while it's kind of an interesting conversation for me. I mean, while I'm working on something like this, I'm turned on and excited about it. You're pushing yourself into it further and further and further, and then finally it gets to a point for me. I'm sure it will, and it'll be all over with. And I'll look at it. I'll say, I don't know. Well, it's all right. I mean, I'll go through my mind. I'll go through the steps. I think we've talked about this. What's is the composition? Are you satisfied with the composition? Yes. The positioning of the elements, the primary center of interest, the secondary center of interest, the way the movement, the composition, the way this thing works in a circle, it works in a triangle, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's satisfactory. Then I'll look. Well, how's the drawing? All the basic. Yeah, that's okay. The lighting and the color, yeah, that's okay. And then I'll get to the end, I'll say, but still, it just never made it. Now, it's always some vague thing that it never really makes it to the paramount, you know what I mean, to the peak that I think it could have been. And I used to, get frustrated with that and really say, oh, right, throw it away. And now I just realize that's just part of the process. So, and it's the carrot that's constantly dangling out in front that I'm pursuing. That intellectually I know I'll never get, but I'm still obsessively, compelled to try to attain it.
And then on a more practical level, you focused a lot on lighting, right? When you were teaching lighting.
The thing broke down. The first year I taught this broad course. Joe Kubert said, teach anything you want. I said, okay, well, illustration. Oh wow, what the hell is that? Illustration. I mean, so the first year students, I had them read. I picked a book by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's At the Earth's Core. It's about Pellucidar, the world inside the Earth, and it has everything in there. It's got the action hero. It's got the machine that bores into the earth. It's got dinosaurs. It's got creatures. It's got beautiful women. It's got everything that a young guy would want. And most of these are all young guys at the school. So, all right, I said, no, now pick a cover to do a cover. Read the book, go through the book, and pick the right scene for the cover. After I talked to them that you got to find a scene in the book somewhere that really grabs attention on the bookshelf. I'd give a talk initially about that you've got like 3 seconds to grab a viewer when the book is in the bookstore, because you've got so many other books on the shelf that cover's got to bang out. So pick something in the book. And so they all did their layouts. They read the books and they did their layouts, their roughs. So then I suddenly started to realize, oh my God, I've taken them to the painting now. And there was like 25 guys in the class. And each person picked a different scene out. Some that were similar. And now I had to give them an explanation of how to work the lighting and the colors to mix up. And it was almost impossible to mix, you know what I mean, to go through each individual in each painting and give the whole lighting setup on something like this, to give them the color breakdowns that I use and how to achieve it. And I only really could focus on a few of the people in the class at that time. So the next year, Gene and I analyzed it, what we could do, and I more or less landed. I have a project. I had 6 months of art school way back in the 50s, before I started at my career, and one of the classes was color and design. And in that class, Bill Meinzinger, the teacher, had a problem of, he had a setup of a cone, a cube, and a ball against a white sweep. And the ball was red, the cone was yellow, and the square was blue. So you got the primary colors against the white sweep. And so I figured, well, the next year I'm going to teach that. And I'm going to have the students do that setup with a white light on the subject, do the same setup with a warm light, like a yellowy light on the subject, and do the same setup with a bluish light on the subject, and show how each one of those colors, the primary colors in white, were affected by the colored light. That I was able to achieve in the class and do in a really doable manner. So that became the course. It became basically light and its impact on color, using just those few objects to convey the thing. Not, I wasn't concerned about drawing or anything at this point. Just to, you know what I mean? So that was the first semester of that particular year. The second semester now, I gave them 2 covers to do so that I knew the whole color breakdown, ones that I had done already. I gave them the choice to do a Dracula painting that I had already done for a book for Unicorn Publishing. So I knew all the colors that I used in that. And it was another scene from a fairy tale book of Perseus and Andromeda and the dragon, the sea creature. And that was in a warm light. The Dracula was in a cool light. The Perseus scene was in a warm light. So I gave them a choice, pick one or the other. So most of them picked the Dracula scene. So I was able to accommodate that too. With 20 people in the class, I was able to give them the color breakdown and work with them all. Mm-hmm. So, but I put them through the whole thing of posing models like I do. I told them they had to get a camera. Most of the guys, they had never posed models. They were drawing out of their heads. I said, well, we're using models, and we're going to use photographs to go by. So I set that all up, and we shot the models, and then they drew their layouts. And, I told them to come up with a composition that worked powerfully for the cover. And they couldn't copy my composition. They had to come up with their own. And took them through the whole finished painting. And that was doable, and that worked very well. So that was the course that I taught.
Cool. Hopefully that answered your question.
Long answer to a short question.
So I'll add to that. He's not asking my opinion, but I'm going to give it anyway. My advice to young students is find out what the point of the assignment is and do it. When you're in art school is your time to work on your technique. It's the time to learn how the materials work, what you are drawn to, what you like, how different things work. I found a lot of students get hung up on, I want to do my own thing. I get that. I totally get that. I want to do my own thing too. And it's great for you to do your own thing on your own time. When you are paying to be in a course, right? Mm-hmm. And presumably the person in front of you should know something about what they're talking about. And we all know that's not entirely the case, but we won't go there. Listen to what they have to say and actually attempt to do what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you're in the class with the teacher.
Yeah.
You're
because you don't know everything.
No, you don't. The teacher may not know everything either, but the chances are the teacher probably knows more than you.
Chances are.
Yeah.
even if they're not a great teacher.
My course too. I think if I remember right, I begin the class with something like, "This is not dogma. What I'm going to tell you is not the only way to use light and color. It's the way I use it. I'm the teacher, and that's what I'm going to show you because that's what I know."
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what it came down to. And I got to say this, and I never praised myself too much certainly over my paintings, but I did a damn good job teaching because the guys generally got it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It went clunk. They got what I was after.
Yeah.
Light and its impact on color. That this is what it comes down to. You put a blue light on something, it changes every color that is lighting. You put a orange light on something, that changes every color that you're lighting.
Yeah.
So and that went clunk, and that's what was important to me. So that concept registered,
Yeah. Very cool. Are there any other questions, comments, anything at all? We got our comments list all covered up by about a zillion notifications that all of a sudden just started popping
What
up.
is
That's
that?
kind of what I was going up in here. This the New Jersey patch.
Well, we
Oh
don't
my-
want.
we don't want the patch. The patch is
Get rid of that.
all bad news all the time.
It's like who killed who, and I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's like. I mean, granted, news should, of course, tell you what's happening in the real world, but more than the bad shit's happening, good stuff is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
Yeah. You know, the I saw two more questions pop up, which we will address. But I'm right there with you, man. It's something went wrong when the news or journalism had to make the switch to for-profit
Making
businesses.
money. Mhm.
I was listening to NPR this morning, and they're talking about how newspapers, again, maybe the post office was subsidized in the early days to distribute newspapers, so people were able to break in that business for almost no cost whatsoever to be able to distribute information to people,
Mhm.
and that led to the rising up of different ideas and all that. I'm not gonna go too deep into that story, but when the news or journalism, which could still be found, you just have to look a little harder for it.
Yeah.
It became entertainment media.
Yeah.
News entertainment.
Right. It's the big ones. I mean, the big network shows that
Yes.
everybody watches.
That's
you
the
look.
key thing too. Everybody watches.
Yeah, that's what they all watch. You've chosen your political bent, and that's all you watch. You only watch that one point of view, and you take that as gospel, as though that's all real. Not realizing that everybody has vested interest in pitching that message to you because they know you're going to buy it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're going to, hopefully buy the products that they're that the commercial. So that's the thing. I remember I worked with a man when I worked for Fulton J. Shane, who worked in Time Life, and he came to work for the Bishop to do his magazine. Lou Orsini was his name. He was a fantastic human being. He said, really being aware of that whole medium, he said, back then, I'm talking like the late 60s, he said, I read about 20 to 25 newspapers. He said, that's at least you start to maybe you get a view of the truth.
Yeah.
Everything from the more liberal to the very conservative to religious, Christian Science Monitor, Village Voice, New York Times, what the hell ever, all over the place. He would read all this stuff to get a kind of like a view of something.
Yeah, vague idea of what's going on.
What's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a joint effort in sharing a positive message is what really could bring the unification,
Yes.
And it has to be a truly positive message,
Yeah,
not a message of judgment.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why people just can't get together. It's like, I know that sounds cutesy and sweetsy in this day and age. If you start to talk that way, people will say you sound like really flaky or something.
Yeah.
There's got to be this brutal kind of like confrontational mentality that goes on. This, like, I don't know what that's about. What is that about? Does that prove that you're a man if you act that way? That you're, or what is that? What does that show? I don't know. It's just a whole.
I don't know. There are definitely ways to be masculine, manly, without needing to conquer.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Or to impose your will upon
right.
somebody.
Take over and be
I've never felt less of a man because I let my wife be my wife.
Exactly.
let her live her own life. So,
Exactly.
all right. So, Greg, here's a good question. Why do you use different signatures, and how do you choose the one that you're going to use?
It's all arbitrary in the moment. There's no philosophical stand about it. I mean, I like signing a painting with a square because it reads better, and people can see, can read it. I think
Yeah.
if you get into a script, sometimes it gets lost. You can't. What the hell is that? You know how many
Yeah.
times people sign, right?
Me.
People go get autographs, and a guy will sign his name, or a gal will sign their name. You can't even read what it is. You don't even know who. If somebody's got to explain, well, that's so and so's signature. You know,
Yeah.
if you're, especially it's bad news if you're selling the signature to somebody and they can't read it.
Yeah.
So I think too that I think I learned the lesson pragmatically, probably from Norman Rockwell, the way he signed his name.
Yeah.
It's like it's a beautiful lettering job,
Yeah.
and it's clearly Norman Rockwell. You know, it isn't like what does that mean? So I think again, that's one pragmatic aspect. The other pragmatic aspect, when my brother and I worked together when he was alive, we would sign. We decided to sign our name only just our last name, Hildebrandt, and so it had to be block letters because it couldn't be script because whose script would it be, Tim's or mine? You know,
Yeah.
so we just had to do a block letter to say that the two of us were signing, and then after that, I continued to sign my name a block because people could see that I wanted them to see that I did it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's pretty pragmatic.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes. Sometimes, though, in a sketch, mainly in sketches, I'll
You
sign,
do your
I'll
autograph.
sign it. Yeah, I'll autograph it. It's more like an autograph at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
rarely, I see your block
yeah.
on
Sometimes.
that, but it's very rare. Okay, Jacob Davies says he went to a TSO in Seattle. Very cool. They had a whole song with their program artwork flashing in a giant collage.
Yeah.
He liked the heavy metal painting in the background, by the way.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, that was great. When that first happened, Paul O'Neill, who was a dear friend, who was the creator and the genius of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, took me. We went to the concert. I think it was in New York, and he wouldn't tell anybody. He made sure that nobody knows, and he brought me into the command center, and the show started. And I got to this song, and all my artwork was on the screen for the first time. It was like the first time that had happened, and nobody told me about it. And I was like in tears. I was like, oh my God. Because it was all just flashing with the music.
Right. Sorry, I can't read the top line of that. Atelier versus art school. The former seems more intimate. How do you guys feel about artists working under a master artist to create one piece like Rodin? Have you all done something like that?
No. Not that. No.
Not in a master and apprentice.
No, my teaching is very limited. Actually, I only got to say that one time officially at Joe Cubert's school in the early '80s to mid '80s sometime, and then individuals on and off. I'll give
I'm very much opposed to it. Right now, I understand that's what they did a lot with the masters, and I know Thomas Kincaid had a production crew doing his thing. My reason for being absolutely 100% against it is I spent 17 years working with people with disabilities. And we had very structured guidelines for working. I became like the hands for these individuals. They would communicate to me, and I would apply the paint. It was a very structured, very regimented, very precise process that took a very, very long time to accomplish even one brushstroke onto a canvas. There was always a question from people who didn't understand the process of, well, are you interpreting what they want? Are you asking what they want? And are you interpreting it? How much is yours versus how much is it theirs? So, I took it in the program. It was a very strict stance of no, if you're touching that canvas, you have no creative input whatsoever. You don't do anything until you have 100% assurity. Then even after you make the mark, you check back in. Is that exactly what you wanted? And if it wasn't, you erased it. Didn't matter if it took you a month to get there. You got rid of it. So it's a different conversation, but I have a very built-in thing of there's no help. Like I say, even when they have real news story, they never dive deep into facts. And no, they don't.
Everything's condensed.
Yeah.
It's done to get between commercials. It's you've got a bunch of stuff that you got to get to, and I always question like who decrees that that's news today. Oh, this is news. This is not news. That's news. This isn't news. It's like anyway.
Sorry. In the Christmas spirit of things, gives me the quote from my all-time favorite movie when he talks about the clodhopper down in Griffith, Indiana, swallowing a yo-yo on a bet. And she says they write the silliest things in the newspaper, and his thing is like, that's real news. That's not like a politics slot.
You have to say the movie.
Oh, it's A Christmas Story.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
It's one of my favorites too. It's definitely on my list of 100 greatest, my favorite movies ever made.
Ever.
It's like,
Wendy Greer says, long time no see. Absolutely. Hello, Wendy. How you doing?
hi, Wendy.
Some person writes branded, question mark. I don't know what that's referring to. I'm sorry if we said something about being branded and that made you question that.
Well, what?
It just says branded with a question mark.
I have no idea what that means.
We don't know what that means. So if you want to elaborate a little bit, sorry, maybe it made sense like in the moment of the conversation.
I got it.
But neither of us get it right now. Sorry.
Right.
So anyway, we're getting ready to close up shop. Thank you, people, for tuning back in. Brandon, a TV show.
Oh, I don't know that show. Is that the name of a show?
I don't know.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I'm kind of
Thank you
stupid
for
when it comes to that.
elaborating. But again, or maybe just again the context of what we were talking about with the entertainment news or something like that. Sorry, we just.
Here we are. We're
Still lost
flummoxed.
that.
We're flummoxed.
But we are a business. We're coming to the Christmas season. Right now, we have an unprecedented sale going on at the Spiderweb Art Gallery, where practically everything is marked down to on some form or another. We have 10% off all original Tolkien art, 20 to 25% off other original art. Gene, what is that, 20 or 25?
For what?
Original art.
All original art is 20% off.
20%.
Which is 10.
Yep, I already said that one, 20%. Sales on T-shirts, books, prints, posters, lithographs.
You see, if it wasn't for Gene and people like Keith, I'd be in a cardboard box on the street because I'm not very good at selling. They're very well organized. Aside from Keith, he's a great artist also, but his ability to...
I got to get better. Got to get better at selling.
Well, no, but you're great at it, man. You're great.
So a little bit of everything, and special today, I'm going to step away for 2 seconds to come back with...
What about? No, but I don't know if we'll be doing another show before Christmas. I hope so, but indeed, I wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and everything else that you may or may not celebrate. But I do mean it. I'm not into any particular religion anymore. But the essence of the one that they all celebrate at this time of the year, the Christians, should be gotten back into, because I don't see any of it around. Very, very, very little of it myself personally between people. It's almost like there's more hatred in this country particularly than I've seen in a long time. So I mean, if you could, those who claim to be followers of Christ could get into really going back to those words and those teachings and practicing that, imitating that would probably make things a heck of a lot better. And I'm not like making anybody wrong, or I'm not preaching at anybody. I hope not. I'm just saying that it's this time of the year. Let's act that way. Be that way.
Absolutely. In the spirit of giving.
In the spirit of giving?
2 things that I was going to go and show. We just found, or it was just brought back from storage unit in Arizona, one of the original 77 Star Wars posters with the Darth Vader head remark. I was going to say, hey, we have this available. but it's selling right now. And then we found another Darth Vader from the Shadows of the Empire lithograph signed by you, but it sold during the show.
Ah.
Sorry, those were going to be my awesome.
Oh, those are going to be your final.
Yeah. But we do have one other thing. Coal that we just got. We have these red Sonia lithographs, right? When Greg was asked to do these, he was asked to pay homage to his original Star Wars poster. We have 4 artist proofs of these lithographs. They're like 18 by 24. We're selling 4 of them. And hey, Greg, to let you know, you're going to be remarking
Oh, okay.
these 4. All right.
This is good.
They're going to be 150 each. They're on our Square store. That's where you could find them on the Square store. You could buy them first come, first serve. There will only be 4. That's it. 4 that have remarks by
Okay.
Greg.
I'm finding this out along with you.
Yeah,
So,
it's exciting news, right? How do you get to our Square store? Check out our Instagram page at Spiderweb Art. Go to the link in the bio. And that might be the easiest way for me to tell you to get to our Square store at the moment because we don't have it on our screen yet.
okay.
All right. But anyway, folks, thank you again for coming back. Thank you once again, Greg. Awesome to talk to you.
Great talking to you, man.
Everybody have a great night. All right. See you next week.
Yes.